Hey guys, Nick Espinoza, your chief security fanatic here, and today we are going to be talking about your coronavirus tech news for Monday, April 13th of 2020. And we've got some actually really interesting news articles that kind of dovetail with each other to talk about an overall greater issue that we quite frankly have in the United States. And if you're not in the United States, you might have this in your country as well. But there are pockets, and these happen to be large pockets or swaths of the United States that simply don't have broadband or really lack access to this. Now, the first article that I'm talking about here is the Houston Chronicle, and I think this is indicative of this nationwide issue. Now, if you're watching or listening to this, you have internet in your home. I mean, I am on the internet, whether it's SoundCloud or YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, take your pick. We're all quarantined, so I know you're at home watching this, but many of us don't. Many rely on schools or work or libraries to gain access to the internet for, whatever reason they need. But what happens, for example, when your kids need the internet and they don't have it? They need to continue their education, and they don't. And this is what's happening. There's a massive number of kids in the Houston area, and Houston is roughly the size of Chicago. I think on occasion Chicago is the third largest city in the United States. Sometimes Houston is. They flip back and forth. I couldn't tell you which one is bigger. They're roughly the same size right now. And so this is a huge, huge area, and we have roughly 100,000 students in this area that lack broadband internet at home, basically during this entire shutdown. Now, districts have received thousands of hotspots. That's that little portable mobile device that will connect you to a cellular service. But the need for connectivity far outpaces the availability of these. Two officials that are deeply involved with this, which is basically the school district's chief technology officer and the president of the 1 Million Project Foundation, which is a nonprofit that provides free hotspots and internet service to school districts, basically said that lower grade devices can be obtained in about a month or so, while the higher quality hotspots can take 3 to 4 months to receive, and they are backlogged because, quite frankly, our supply chains are all hit due to the coronavirus. China is now just spinning up manufacturing. It's a mess, but that means that at least 100,000 students or so are going to have a very hard time keeping up with their schoolwork. And the question is, what is the fallout going to be with this? But it's not just kids. And this article from the Houston Chronicle dovetails with an AP article that just came out as well, entitled "Those Without Broadband Struggle in a Stuck-at-Home Nation." And the example they give here is Sandwich, New Hampshire, which is a town of 1,200, which is basically apparently best known for being the setting for the movie On Golden Pond, and they don't have broadband. It's very scarce there. They can't stream Netflix. They can't really work from home or study from home. Even their police department is having trouble uploading their reports on a regular basis, and now here we are. And this is happening for millions, literally in the United States right now. I think we take for granted that not every place has kept pace with the always expanding internet. I know that as I live in the Chicagoland area, I can go a very short distance and get into a rural area because outside of Chicago, it's all cornfields, and their internet capability is vastly inferior to the infrastructure that the Chicagoland area has. And quite frankly, that's insane. And what's interesting is this Associated Press article actually put out a graph, and I've got it here, of the various school districts around the nation that have a very high percentage of students with no internet or even no computer at home, as these students are low-income based, from low-income based families, and basically rely on the school to supply this infrastructure and technology to them. So, for example, in Montana, the North Harlem Colony Elementary School District, over 66.7% of students don't have any internet. They don't. In Washington State, the Steckheim School District has 60%. California, Texas, Minnesota, Montana, Arizona, Arkansas, Minnesota. These are areas where we have everything, and number 10 on the list in Minnesota, the Lake of Woods School District, is 39.7%. So 40% of all students don't have internet at home. In one case in Montana, over 26%, more than 1/4 of students don't even have a computer in the house, according to this study. And so we need to think about this. We need to understand that while we are, let's say, sitting here, let's say in Chicago, and Chicago has its own issues, as does any urban city, especially during the coronavirus. I'm sure every urban city has all of their supermarkets basically run on go find toilet paper, that kind of thing. We take this for granted. And if you are watching this, you are not in that 66% in Montana. This is what we're talking about here. And so how do we fix this? How do we correct this? I think that's a very important thing that we need to have a discussion on just as a society in general. And there are other countries as well. I don't think this is unique to the United States, just given our population size and the amount of land that is in the United States. I'm sure smaller countries that are, very up to date, Scandinavia, I'm looking at you, probably don't have this issue, but there are other large populated countries, large countries that do have this situation. And I think it's something that needs to be addressed because the internet is that essential communications platform that enables work, it enables communication, it enables education. I think it's something we need to discuss. And finally, in our last bit of news, unrelated to lack of internet here in the United States, we've got some hopefully good news because there's a new report out that says there are 70 coronavirus vaccines in development globally. And 3 of those candidates are already being tested in human trials. This is according to the World Health Organization. Drug makers obviously are racing to find a cure for the coronavirus. Now, the furthest along in clinical testing is an experimental vaccine developed by Hong Kong-based CanSino Biologics Incorporated, and also the other leader is the Beijing Institute of Biotechnology. Both are apparently in phase 2 of this testing. The other 2 that are being tested, Hong Kong CanSino Biologics and the Beijing Institute of Biotechnology are actually together jointly working on one that is in phase 2. Now, the other 2 that are being tested in humans are being developed separately by 2 U.S. drug makers, Moderna Inc. and Inovio Pharmaceuticals Incorporated, and this is again according to the World Health Organization. Progress is interesting here because it's basically moving at an unprecedented speed in developing vaccines as basically we are looking to basically quash this thing as fast as we can to get economies moving, people out of their homes. We are potentially looking at months of coronavirus issues. And so the drug industry usually takes about 10 to 15 years to get a vaccine to market. We are now looking at trying to get a coronavirus vaccine within the next year. That is massive, and hopefully that is very good news as they continue these trials, and we'll see how that shakes out. But hopefully we will get much needed help sooner than later, and we can all get out of our houses, of which we are all currently in as you watch or listen to this. And so that is your news of the day. We need more internet, and hopefully we'll have a vaccine soon. And please like, share, follow me here on Facebook and Twitter at NickAESP. And please feel free to subscribe to me at YouTube as well. And as always, stay safe and stay online. Thanks, guys.